Hi, everyone. Those of us who have reached middle age or older, not only are some of us dealing with the challenges as we ourselves age, but also those around us, like family, friends, and loved ones. As I think about all the different life stages we go through in life, I realize that while most of the earlier part of our lives are spent with the notion that we are all a work in progress, however, as our health declines, the opposite is true as we age. Instead, we become a work in regress as we age. It's just an unfortunate fact of life and we need to prepare ourselves mentally, physically, and emotionally so we can successfully deal with the inevitable changes of old age for ourselves as well as for others. Today, I would like to talk about some helpful reminders that would prepare us to deal with old age. And by old age, I mean specifically the health changes, struggles, and challenges that come along with getting old. This is a subject that I feel is rarely discussed, and yet it's something all of us have gone through or will go through sooner or later. These reminders will be represented in the spelling of the words work and regress. W for well being. We need to remember to always prioritize our well being when we're caring for ourselves or others. When we have older loved ones that we are regularly caring for, we can become overwhelmed and exhausted if we're not careful. We need to pace ourselves and not extend ourselves to the point we are hurting our own well-being. After all, we will be of no help to others if we are not well ourselves. While it may be tempting to keep pushing ourselves, especially if the situation is demanding or we are naturally high achievers and driven with high energy, we still need to help others in moderation and not go overboard so we don't get burnt out. Like with anything else in life, establishing a balance is key to our well being. O for optimism. We need to remember to be optimistic even when we are struggling with our own health or caring for those in need. Having a happy and positive attitude goes a long way to having good health. It is well known that in the fields of quantum physics and theoretical science, positive thinking yields both psychological and physiological positive effects. According to innergrowthcoach.com, their online article on positive thinking states that, quote, the psychological benefits of positive thinking are numerous. Notably, it enhances mental health by reducing symptoms of depression and anxiety. Dr. Martin Seligman's pioneering work on positive psychology and learned optimism provides credence to these benefits. Seligman demonstrated through numerous studies that positive thinking could combat helplessness and improve overall happiness. Physiologically, positive thinking can lead to better stress management and a stronger immune system. Research has shown that people who practice positive thinking tend to have lower levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, and are less prone to cardiovascular diseases. This link between mind and body echoes the holistic view of health, supported by theoretical science, unquote. So, given this information, it's important to remind ourselves to have optimism for us and for others. R for resilience. We need to remember daily practicing positive affirmations, which simply means we need to intentionally say or write short statements of positive self talk to increase our self esteem, especially during times of crisis or when we're feeling down. During those stressful and challenging times, it helps to rebuild our resilience, inner strength, and confidence so we can boost our mental health. In the June 2024 online article of verywellmind.com, they provide 25 examples of positive mental health affirmations. For our discussion today, here are 5 of the 25 examples. Number 1, I am strong, capable person. 2, I have done difficult things in the past and I can do them again. 3, I have experienced challenges in the past and I am more resilient because of this. 4, I am allowed to feel upset, angry, and sad sometimes. That's part of being human. And 5, my personal boundaries are important and I'm allowed to express my needs to others. Okay, so K for kindness. We need to remember to be kind to ourselves and others. As people age, some people get moodier or grumpier. and it may be tempting to take it personally or react negatively. But we need to practice kindness so we don't add to the burdens of our loved ones who may already be feeling tremendous emotional and physical pain, sadness, or even depression. And this applies to us too, so we don't become a burden to others who may be taking care of us one day. I for inspiration. We need to remember to remain hopeful and inspire others to be hopeful as well, especially when our loved ones are getting older or experiencing short term or long term health issues. Being their cheerleader on the sidelines and cheering them on will go a long way when your loved one may be feeling discouraged or lonely during the tough times of their life. Close friends are hard to find, and some of us may not even have close knit families or children to turn to for emotional and physical support in times of need. So we may be the one of the few or the only one who can be the inspiration for others to keep moving forward, pressing on with courage and hope that healing and miracles can happen. It's amazing how just a little smile, a loving touch, a few words of encouragement, or a simple act of kindness can go a long way towards giving the hopeless that so called magical spark of inspiration to feel hopeful and empowered once again. I remember there was a time in my own life when I was feeling very discouraged, and the right words of encouragement from a friend changed my mood and greatly lifted my spirits. I will be forever grateful for that friend. So I invite all of you to think back on a time when someone inspired you when you needed it the most. Hopefully, we can remember to pay that inspiration forward to others when the opportunities present themselves. And for nurturing, we need to remember to be nurturing to others and to ourselves as well when we take on the role as the primary caregiver of someone who is having difficulty with taking care of themselves and experiencing health problems. Many people have trouble expressing their emotions and feelings when they are suffering or feeling ill. Some people have the tendency to withdraw and suffer their emotional or physical pain in silence and face their problems alone. Being fiercely independent can also lead to people not taking care of oneself because they don't want to trouble others and ask for help. So, we need to keep in mind that our choosing to be empathetic and nurturing will be a great relief to our loved ones who may have chosen to suffer in silence and sacrifice their well being for the sake of not troubling others. R for rest. We need to remember to get enough rest and take care of our mind and body, especially if we ourselves are dealing with an illness or if we're caring for others who are ill. And depending on how ill someone is, the responsibility to manage some health issues can be mentally and physically draining. As we go out of our way to care for our loved ones, we must remember not to overextend ourselves to the point that we are not getting enough sleep and not taking care of our own health. We all need the downtime to recover and rejuvenate so we can show up as the best version of ourselves to provide the best care for others. E for embrace. We need to remember to ask for hugs and hug others more often. It's easy to take each other for granted and forget that our time is limited here on earth. And if we're too busy taking care of others, we can easily get distracted and forget to embrace our loved ones. Folks, at a certain point in time when we know the end is near, it's important to make the most of every opportunity and to hug our loved ones. And if we're feeling a little lonely, we should never feel ashamed or hesitate to ask for hugs ourselves. A hug is a nice, warm feeling of being cared for and a reassuring feeling that we are not alone in this world. And hugs are free, so let's not be stingy to embrace our loved ones who are aging. G for grace. We need to remember to give grace to ourselves and others by not being too hard on ourselves or others. Giving grace, being extra understanding and tolerating while we allow people a little space to be moody, grumpy, tired, unhappy, forgetful, complaining, and even ungrateful. Yes, you heard me right, even ungrateful. And that's a tough pill to swallow. At the end of the day, we are all trying to do the best we can to get through life's challenges every day. And in all honesty, giving grace to certain unhappy people can feel impossible as they age. And this seems to hold true because happy people tend to age happily while unhappy people age unhappily. While it is easy to give grace to the happy people, it becomes a major struggle to give grace to the unhappy people. I realize it's much easier said than done because when we're the one that's caring for our toxic or abusive loved ones, it can feel impossible to give grace when our help may not be wanted nor appreciated. And that's why it's important to remember to be optimistic, to help in moderation, and to get plenty of rest so we don't become overburdened and burnt out. Caring for unhappy people is not for the faint of heart. If we choose to give grace, then hopefully we can look past the unpleasant situations and feel comforted knowing that we are doing the right thing by making a positive contribution towards mankind, even if it means sometimes dealing with our unhappy loved ones who are aging. And I just want to add another perspective for us to consider. Until we walk in someone else's shoes, grace is much needed because, for example, if our loved one has a terminal illness and are experiencing excruciating physical pain and discomfort, their quality of life has significantly declined. They are suffering immensely every day. Their horrible condition or despair may justify their unhappy, unwanted, miserable attitude and state of mind. It's important for us to be cognizant of and recognize the fact that we can't possibly know how we would respond if we were in their shoes, right? Having compassion is very important. Who knows? Someday we may be in their shoes and someone else may have to deal with our pain and suffering if we have a terminal illness or major health problems. So let's remember to always err on the side of giving grace to those who need it even when we don't feel they deserve it. R for remembrance. We need to remember the good old days, the fond memories and laughter shared so we can stay positive as our loved ones may not be in a good mood if they are experiencing health challenges. While our loved ones may have lost the sparkle in their eyes and the cheerfulness in their voice, we can still choose to focus on who they were in the past and all those precious moments shared. This is especially needed if a loved one loses his or her memory. And I want to take a moment right now and talk about this. I have a very special female friend, a girlfriend who I've known for many years. She was a coworker from a previous job I had a long time ago, and we remained in touch after she retired from the workplace. And we get together every month for a cup of coffee and to chat. Well, I just want to share a story about her and her mother. Not too long, it was years ago. Her mother uh, had dementia. I think either dementia or Alzheimer's. I'm not sure which one. But her mother actually forgot her own daughter, which is my friend. Okay, so the challenge was my girlfriend would still visit and visit her mother often um, at the uh, at the nursing place that she was at, but yet knowing that her mother didn't recognize her. So it was I'm sure it was very challenging for her. And I remember her telling me that she would just always go in there with a smile on her face to do everything she can. She'd find conversation with her mother and just be there to comfort her and just be a company to her while she was in that facility. And I remember my girlfriend just telling me how it was just such a strange feeling to be talking to someone who doesn't even know who you are. So her mother actually thought she was a stranger. So I don't know what that feels like, but I think this is appropriate to what we're talking about here, as far as being as far as remembering the remembrance of somebody special. So if you happen to be in a situation where your loved one, parents or friends lose their memory, they don't even recognize who you are anymore. I think one source of comfort is that you can always think back on all those special moments and memories you've had with that person, and I'm thinking by doing that, you will find a lot of comfort and just a way to get through that tough time of the grief, knowing that your loved one doesn't know who you are or recognize who you are, and as their condition and their disease gets further worsen, um, you can always hold on to those memories. That's something no one can ever take away from you, are those special memories you've had with that person. Okay, so Just something to keep in mind. E for empathy. We need to remember to show empathy to those who are aging. Just like giving grace as needed, having empathy goes hand in hand with giving grace. If we can try to empathize and feel in our hearts what our aging loved ones are feeling, then it would be easier to show empathy and compassion for our loved ones. As they age, we need to remember that it's an unpleasant process for them to come to terms with their own mortality and all the decisions that come with knowing that their time will be up someday. Our aging loved ones will one day need to think about those issues like healthcare coverage, possible long term healthcare, assisted living, hospice care, legal paperwork regarding their estate planning and will, funeral arrangements, and coping with the fears of all the unknowns of not knowing what lies ahead in their future. As our loved ones face these aging issues, we need to keep in mind that they are at a very different stage of life from us, and being empathetic will help them transition to old age smoother, with more ease, less apprehension, and less stress. Okay, letter S for strength. We need to remember to be strong for our loved ones who may be weak and in ill health. It can be extremely difficult to process and regulate our emotions when caring for someone, especially if it's someone we love very much, because when our loved one is in pain, we also feel his or her pain and may even grieve knowing how much they are suffering. Our emotions for our loved one can feel overwhelming when seeing them in excruciating pain. It's during these difficult moments that we must find the inner strength to be the rock for our loved ones. We need to be their pillar of strength, their shoulders to cry on, their hands to hold, their arms to hug, and their heart of hope. I believe these hard times in life are also our greatest defining moments, challenging us to our very core. For it is in these moments we are faced with being strong mentally and physically, as well as being tested on our faith spiritually to believe in positive outcomes and miracles. Let me just say this again. For it is in these moments we are faced with being strong mentally and physically, as well as being tested on our faith spiritually to believe in positive outcomes and miracles. Okay, and letter S again for self love. We need to remember to always keep self love as our highest priority when dealing with our aging loved ones. Caring for elderly people can be a heavy burden for us for those we love. But the burden we can be even greater if we are caring for those who are mentally ill, lost their memory, or not of sound mind. Let's face it, many healthcare professionals, such as nurses or health service workers, have extremely demanding jobs and often feel they have thankless jobs because their patients are sometimes needy, stressed, rude, angry, abusive, and may be difficult to deal with because of their mental and physical limitations. And frankly, caring for those with compromised health will feel very draining and even toxic, especially with those who have personality disorders. So, this is why we need to remember to always pay attention to our feelings and practice self love above all. Taking frequent breaks or time out to refresh our minds will keep us from becoming negative or burnt out. The key is to establish the balance between being helpful to others while still being true to ourselves and maintaining our personal integrity. Self-love also means setting the boundaries when needed to preserve and protect our own sanity and well-being. Let me say that again. Self-love also means setting the boundaries when needed to preserve and protect our own sanity and well-being. Um so yeah, I just want to comment that it is I recognize that it could be very challenging for those of us who are dealing with people that may have already existing personality disorders, who may be highly toxic already. Um, and especially for those healthcare professionals, it's easy for them to get burnt out. I know if you guys have all been through this, I'm sure you can think of many examples where you've run into nurse practitioners or uh, caregivers or people at the hospital, that have been rude, flat out rude, or unsympathetic or unempathetic. And usually it's because it's not that they don't care about the patients. I honestly believe is that they are just burnt out, folks. It is a thankless job, and sometimes if people don't take the proper care for themselves and take a break, take a mental break from, um, from their day-to-day job dealing with these difficult personalities. Um, it could be very taxing on their mental health. Years ago, I had a job working in customer service where I was on the phone constantly all day long. And I remember I had to take mental breaks. I had to go on vacation for a long weekend every other month. Okay. And I always knew when I had to take a break because usually after 2 months, after day in, day out, answering phones and dealing with very demanding customers and trying to troubleshoot problems for them, it does get overwhelming. And I remember every time after 2 months I needed a mental break. Otherwise I was just gonna go crazy. So I would take 3 days off. I take make a long weekend starting Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I would take 3 days off and I would go on vacation, a short trip somewhere, just to refresh my mind and just chill. And usually after those 3 days, I came back with a renewed spirit and a refreshed mind, and I was able to continue with my job for the next couple months until I needed a break again. So I've noticed, especially in the healthcare industry, I don't think there's enough attention given to the workers that are assisting these patients. I think managers and healthcare professionals at the very top need to recognize that their employees need the mental breaks. Very, very important, because it really doesn't do the patients any good, or the healthcare facility at all, right? It hurts the reputation when you have employees that are overwhelmed, overburdened, very burnt out, and they're exhausted mentally, physically, and they start exhibiting rude behavior towards the patients or become very extremely impatient. Or a worst case, they start showing bad behavior towards the patients. It's a bad reflection and reputation for the actual healthcare facility, and it does injustice for the care to the actual patients who need it. So this is something that I've noticed, and I'm sure all of you who've been in this situation where you're caring for loved ones, you've seen how you can see how healthcare professionals have gotten to the point that they're totally stressed out. And that usually happens. You can recognize that easily when they start having a bad attitude and they're projecting their their exhaustion and their I would say unempathetic attitude towards the patients. And even when they answer the phone, a lot of these hospitals, when you call up the people at the front desk, they're just very rude when they answer the phone. And I think it's because of the demanding job that they have. These demanding jobs, the more demanding a job is, the more time the actual workers need to take time off, frequently take time off to recuperate and rejuvenate their spirit so they can come back with a fresh mind and spirit. Okay. In summary, getting old is a fact of life. All of us already have or will be heading in that direction sooner or later. When dealing with the changes of old age, we need to always keep in mind these reminders, as we just discussed, that aging people are a work in regress. It is my hope that we can navigate through the aging process with a big heart of hope and a gentle spirit of love towards others and to ourselves. Finally, I would like to share about the current situation in my personal life right now regarding a very good friend of mine. Ironically, as I was in the middle of writing this topic about old age, I got a call one evening 2 weeks ago that I wasn't totally prepared for. And I'm going to try to get through this like without having to cry. Okay, folks, this is a very uh, this subject I'm going to discuss is very close to my heart, and I'm going to try to get through this without crying. Okay, um, as you heard me mention in a few of my previous videos, we have remained. Okay, I'm sorry. This very good friend is my ex-husband. As you heard me mention in a few of my previous videos, we have remained in touch as very close friends. To make a long story short, he's having major health issues, and I have been experiencing firsthand the challenges, emotional pain, and the likely short term and long term changes that may take place in the upcoming weeks ahead. I've been making frequent hospital visits as the medical team is working diligently to determine the specifics of his health problems and what the treatment options may be. So, as you can imagine, today's video hits home with me, and I'm literally experiencing some of the things I mentioned in this video. I will have more to share as I get more information in the next few weeks. Meanwhile, I kindly ask of you to please keep them in your prayers. Okay, so yeah, it was really ironic that as I was writing this, that I had this call one evening a few weeks ago, and it was a very startling, shocking phone call. My dear friend, who was my ex-husband, is having some major health issues. I believe he may or may not have uh, prostate cancer, and it may have metastasized in other areas. So we're in the middle of my current husband and I have been very busy the last 2 weeks, driving him to hospitals, to office, to doctor visits for lab testing, blood work, the whole 9 yards of medical care that he needs right now. And um, so right now we're at the stage where the doctors are getting the biopsies, and trying to determine where this cancer may have originated, and then from there they can come up with the best treatment plan for the future. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and I am trying to stay strong for him, so that the reminder that I talked about earlier about strength, that really hits home with me, um, because I do have a very soft heart, um, and I would be lying if I haven't cried. I have had a couple of bouts of weeping, um, because he is a very, it's funny, folks. Actually, it's not funny. Um, for those of you who've gone through this, you know what I'm talking about. You don't really realize what life's all about. I mean, to really experience what's really important in life until something like this happens in your life. When you're young, you really don't think about this at all, as a matter of fact, because everyone around you is young, and you don't have to cope with any of these things that I discussed earlier. But as you get older, in your 50s and 60s on up, especially in retirement age, a lot of this starts to happen around you. Friends, family, loved ones, they start having health issues, and you yourself could have health issues as well. And that's when all these things that we talked about, is important to keep in mind. And it's interesting that people don't generally talk about this. There's not a lot of videos out there on this subject, but when I do come across people that when I do talk about this to strangers and to people, those of us who've been through this, they all nod their heads and they smile, quietly, not smile as in happiness, but they smile with recognition that they understand deeply what I'm going through. But yet, yeah, I find it very interesting that no one really talks about this. And so I want to take the opportunity for today's video just to open it up, to open myself up to this topic. I want all of us to feel free and vulnerable to talk about this, because it's real, folks. I mean, these feelings are raw, they're real. The emotions we go through is normal, especially if you love someone very much. um, so yeah, I've gone through a lot of this, and I'm still going through it. I mean, every day we learn new things about his illness, or potential uh, negative outcomes for the future. It's very unsettling and very, very painful, emotionally painful, to have to accept. I don't know how much time he has, in the next few weeks, as we get more information. Um, Another biopsy is going to happen tomorrow, and then from there, the oncologist will figure out a game plan for the future for treatment options. And um, I don't know what else to say at this point, but I'm hoping for the best. And um, if it is terminal, then I'm hoping he lives a good quality life for whatever time he has left. So I pray that y'all please keep me and my best friend, who's my ex-husband, in your prayers. Um, I do believe in miracles, and at this point, I can only hope for the best. So anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit of a sad video, but I do want to look at it as positive. That um, if you guys are going through this, please feel free to share your comments. If you have any ideas, any encouraging words, please put them in the comments below. I'd love to read them. And I really think the time for all of us to get together as a community is important, especially in times like this. Um, and please remember to subscribe to my channel so you can be notified of all my upcoming videos. Okay. And um, I don't know what else to say except that I'm just going to keep the faith, keep smiling, stay strong. Okay. So I hope you like this video, and I will be seeing you again soon. I will definitely be making a video, and as a matter of fact, the next few videos I'll probably give you updates on what's happening, and other insights that I might share with all of you. So, all right, folks, I hope you're having a great week, and I will look forward to talking with you again soon. Okay? All right. Bye.